All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. Let's take a few minutes and let's catch up on what's been going on with the Darwin 200 and on board of the Skalde. So for those who've been with us, the last couple weeks, we have been in Punta Arenas in Chile. And so we've had a couple live events from there. We've had an amazing group of Darwin leaders who split their time between Punta Arenas and then another group in Puerto Williams. And they've been working on some absolutely amazing and incredible projects. So I'm going to take a moment here and I'm going to share my screen so we can get a feel for where we are in the world. If you've been with us the last couple of weeks, you can see that we have not moved much. We are from the Falklands. We made our way down here. There we go. Through this Beagle Channel and to Punta Arenas. So we'll zoom in here where the Skalde is in port, but that is going to change very soon. Within the next few days, the Skalde will weigh anchor and we will begin making our way through these fjords. If I back up just a little bit, you can see we're going to make our way through these beautiful fjords of Chile. We're going to spend well over a week doing that as we make our way towards Conception. And so we're going to have some live events, hopefully right here, right in the midst of these fjords. It should be absolutely beautiful and amazing. I'm going to stop this screen share and I'm going to share a few photos here just for a moment to catch you up on what our Darwin leaders have been up to. I have a few photos here from the field. So there we go. This should come up now. Beautiful. So here's a nice picture of our three-masted schooner, the historic Skalde. You can see here that it is making its way to the port of Punta Arenas. You can see a beautiful sunset there in the background, just arriving at the perfect time. If we scroll through a few images, you can see some of our Darwin leaders and some of the conservationists they were out in the field with. So it's not all fun and games in the field. It begins with some planning, some activity, deciding what they want to capture on film, where they're going to be, who they want to interview so that they can make sure they get everything they need for the 3 films that they will be producing. And of course, they get out in the field. And then it's a matter of observation, of interviews, of filming. And they've just been able to see some absolutely beautiful things, ranging from those beautiful Peale's dolphins we saw not too long ago to shorebirds, and even doing some work with the indigenous peoples in this part of the world in Punta Arenas. The scenery is absolutely incredible. It's the bottom of the world. It's a place a lot of people don't get to visit. And as such, it's a place that has been impacted as much from our human activities. You can see some of the beautiful landscapes that our Darwin leaders and our camera operators have been working in the last couple of weeks. Towering cliffs and mountains and fjords and waterfalls and glaciers as well. Oops, I think I zoomed in a little too much on this. It's not letting me go to the next one. There we go. So you can see some of those glaciers pouring down and making their way into the fjords and melting and adding that cold, fresh water. And then, of course, the wildlife. This area is teeming with wildlife in the air, on the land, in the water. You can see some flocks of seabirds here, including some terns up there in the sky. Some more species of seabirds here. I have a cormorant there sitting on one of those logs. And then, of course, in the water, we've got some mammals like these sea lions cruising past the shore. And then albatross in the sky. So these albatross are amazing, can be in the air gliding along and feeding for months and months at a time before they return to land. Okay, so there's a little catch up. This is what we have been up to. Punta Arenas has been the home base for the Skalde for a few weeks now, but that is all coming to an end within the next couple of days. We will set sail and we will have a live uplink as we're sailing for those fjords in Chile next week. In fact, if you visit our YouTube channel, if you are getting our newsletter, which you can sign up for at DARWIN200.com, you'll see we just announced our events from now all the way until the end of March. So you can start registering for those events. You can see what we're getting up to, and you can grab those camera spots or those YouTube spots for your classrooms. So we have a really special guest joining us today. He is hanging out backstage. Now, this is a very relatable expedition because it's a sailing expedition like we are on right now, but the ship is very different in size, and the area that they have been visiting on their expeditions is very different as well. So we're going to get another exciting expedition, a sailing expedition, looking at our northern region. So we are going to have a little recap of the Arctic Sense expedition from the captain and expedition leader, Andreas B. Heide. He is also a marine biologist and a filmmaker. In June 2023, the 37-foot sailing vessel Barba set sail from Norway for the Arctic sea ice, with a goal of collecting important information about our changing planet. So they covered over 2,000 nautical miles on this expedition, exploring the sea ice around Arctic Svalbard. They used a variety of tools like drones and underwater cameras to film wildlife like orcas, walruses, and humpback whales. And over several months, they braved dangerous conditions to document the realities of climate change in Svalbard, the wildlife, and to conduct some scientific research, and of course, to bring those findings back to us, to the general public, through media. So here we go. Let's get Andreas in here with us right now, joining us from Norway. Hey, Andreas, how are you?
Hi, Joe. I'm good, thanks. In the office and looking at the Darwin project with great admiration. And then as for me today, I have the honor of showing you what we do up north. And I'll start with a 5-minute video showing what we did last year, and then introduce myself, the crew and the boat, and some highlights of the field work. So I'll start just now with this 5-minute video.
All right.
Are you sure you don't want to lose it? Come on. Yeah. Okay. Are you sure? Yes. Don't worry. Okay. I trust you, Andreas. Yep. Yes, he's getting it. Good job, guys. He's getting it. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at a map of the polar bear concentration, and it looks a lot like where we are. Yeah, I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. I think.
In the children's corner, show us what do you have here. What is this? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna push that other one. Yeah, I'll push it with the bow. Is the 360 filming?
You think of those polar bear pictures and the orcas? Pretty cool. All right, let's get a couple questions.
What you've seen today, you can just go tell them about it, and they might get interested. They might learn a lot more. They might contribute into the field more significantly.
Yeah, so that was a little sneak peek into the expedition we did last year, sailing up to the pack ice of Svalbard. As for myself, Andreas B. Heide, I'm from Norway, expedition sailor, a marine biologist, and also a diver. Additionally, I spend quite some time in the office planning for new boats and new expeditions. Part of my work part of the Barba project's work revolves around the big animals of the north, including orcas, which is one of my favorites. So we spent 4 winters documenting orcas in northern Norway, and we're going back this coming season. Furthermore, Joe mentioned that we're on a similar project with a smaller boat, and I think that's fair to say. This is the boat we have, a 37-foot, 12-meter sailing vessel called the Barba, after the dog I had as a child, named for its loyalty and its ability to be satisfied with the simple things in life. And of course, as on Darwin, the boat is important, but what makes the trip and the expedition is the crew. That was the crew. And here is an example of some of the crew members. We choose to have a diversified crew. This is, for instance, Alex Maloney at the helm. She's a silver medalist in sailing from Rio. And then we have Marta Trodal. She's an oceanographer. Additionally, on the boat, you can see we have a Starlink antenna. I think you have one on your vessel as well. Also, we have a wind generator to generate electricity. And with this small boat, we're able to be out for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. Being a small boat, we have easy access to the water, and it's more manageable than a bigger vessel. Ultimately, it's a sailing boat, and we use the sails for propulsion. Also, it adds a lot of safety. It allows us to be out in harsh conditions and cover tremendous distances. As for the expedition in last year, sailing up to Svalbard. So Svalbard is all the way up to the pack ice that surrounds the North Pole. So in the video, you could see that we sailed into this pack ice. And from the edge of this pack ice where we were, there's nothing but ice all the way up to the North Pole. And this ice is critical for polar bears and whales and the entire Arctic ecosystem. So this is just an example of some of the work we did. Here where the boat is in the ice. In the background, you see the vessel itself. Then we have an ROV, which is an underwater drone. This one can dive to 500 meters and provide crystal clear images to the surface. Then we have myself on the left-hand side using an underwater scooter, which is a small torpedo that you attach to your harness. And it allows you to fly underwater, which is not only very cool, but also useful for catching up with whales and getting spectacular footage that we later use for educational purposes. So this is the ROV, and this works also for BBC, Netflix, and Disney. So it's quite a high-tech gadget. And here we have a sneak peek from the saloon of the vessel with Antoine. He's a former gamer and photographer, and now it's his full-time job to care for this ROV system. Also here we have Tawanda from Zimbabwe, who joined us from southern Norway up to the Arctic, and he had never seen snow before, but now he sure has, including polar bears. Additionally, Fabrice Schnoller in the background, a videographer. So here is Antoine operating the ROV system. And of course, one great advantage with the ROV is that we're able to get up close and personal with orcas and whales, and we can go deep down below. And it's all for us, it's a tool to better capture and understand the ocean. And then I think we have an obligation, being on boats or on land, is to do something, give something back to nature. And it's a difficult question to answer, but starting with ourselves on what we do in the everyday life is to reduce our consumption reduce our consumption, reuse the items we currently have, repair things which we constantly do on the boat and on land, recycle like items that are no longer of use, send them back into the system, be it plastic or fabrics or whatnot. And then also importantly, share the knowledge with your friends and parents and inspire them to do the right things for nature and the ocean. So this was a brief sneak peek into the sailing vessel Barba and some of the work we do in the Arctic. And with that, I believe I'm ready for some questions if you have any.
All right. Excellent, Andreas. We will definitely have some questions. We have groups tuning in online. I can see a school in Portugal saying hi. I see someone else in the Netherlands, Canada, the United States with us there as well. We've got a camera classroom who's going to join us shortly to ask some questions. If you are tuning in via YouTube, use that chat sidebar and send us in your questions there. We're also going to have our Kahoot quiz in a little bit too after our Q&A session. So be ready in your classrooms for that as well. All right, let's get us back nice and full screen. So Andreas, it's an amazing expedition and an undertaking in a vessel that, some might think it's a little bit dangerous to be bringing into the sea ice. Now, you've done this several times now. Where did the idea for this expedition first come from?
I think if you want to look at where it really started, it was me being a kid looking out at the sea full of curiosity, and it was this exciting element I wanted to explore. And then gradually I got my first small boat when I was 10 with 4 horsepower, and we were out exploring the environment. And then later on I got a sailboat, started to sail to the outer archipelago of Norway, pushing onwards to Faroe Islands, Iceland, and then later Greenland and Svalbard. So it's grown progressively. And I think I might have lost your question there, but at least this is how it started.
No, that's it exactly. Where did the inspiration, for this expedition come from? Yeah.
Yeah. And also I would like to add, you have, fantastic storytellers before us, such as Jacques Cousteau, David Attenborough, and also DARWIN200 is playing into that legacy now, and we try to do the same, and that's an obligation we feel, being fortunate to be out there in nature. We feel like we have to share it with people and also help protect the marine environment.
All right. Let's bring in, we have Mrs. Foster's class hanging out backstage. They are in Alabama. I'm going to bring them in here front and center with us. Hey, Mrs. Foster's crew, how are we doing today?
Good.
All right. Let's grab a couple questions if you have some.
Go ahead, Henry.
What has been the most impactful moment for you as an explorer?
What has been the most impactful?
Yeah.
Was that okay? Thank you. I think what I remember the most was sailing to Greenland. That's the first time we sailed to the ice, and then sailing from Iceland for a couple of days, and then the horizon, seeing the icebergs just getting closer and closer. And that was hugely exciting because you come into this new fairy tale land that you've never experienced before. So that's maybe one of the biggest ones. And then also we've had many close encounters with whales. When you get eye contact with a whale, that's also quite mind-blowing.
Yeah. I don't know if we saw the picture, but I shared it when I put the newsletter out of the Barba next to a blue whale. And that's a pretty intense image.
I might have it. Do you want me to find that photo?
If it's handy, I think it's a really cool image to share. There we go. Let me bring it up.
There we go. Yeah, so here, this is captured in 2021. So my vessel was 37 feet, 12 meters, and then you have 2 blue whales alongside. So the biggest one there it's well over 20 meters or 60 feet. And we know that the biggest blue whales are measured to be over 30 meters or 90 feet, the biggest animals that ever lived. And what's especially powerful with this photo is that the blue whales were hunted close to extinction, but we're now seeing that they're starting to recover their old hunting grounds, which is amazing. This could have been lost, but it's still here with us.
All right. Okay. Ms. Foster's crew, do you have another question for us?
We do. Brenton?
What are you interested in studying next?
The next expedition is to go up to the orcas and humpback whales in the winter, which we've done 4 times before. But now we want to bring an ROV with us so we can study the whales in different ways that haven't been done before. So with this ROV, we can dive down into the depth to 100 meters where the herring is, the food source of these whales. So that's one of the next expeditions. And then we're also working, maybe in the background here, you can see a photo of a bigger vessel that's on the drawing block. So it's kind of doing what we already do, but improve on the deliverables. And keep exploring.
All right. We'll come back your way in a little bit, Mrs. Foster's crew, see if we have some follow-ups. But I want to grab a few here that are starting to come in via YouTube. So our classroom, which is near Lisbon in Portugal, they would like to know, are there some animals in the Arctic that we might not be familiar with? Like, I think most are familiar with walrus and polar bears. Are there some species you think that might surprise people they might not be familiar with?
Yeah, we have, with the whales, we have the beluga whales, which are, they're just completely white and they don't have a dorsal fin. So their biology is adapted to just spend their time in the ice. Also, we have the bowhead whale, which was also almost extinct. It can be up to 200 years old, and it spends its entire life cycle up in the ice. And that's the only one of the big whales that spends all its time in the Arctic. All the other whales, the blue whales, the fin whales, the humpback whales, and so on, they go either to the Arctic or the Antarctic to fatten up, and then they go back to the tropics for breeding purposes. So yeah, and then finally the narwhal, which has the males have a very long tusk that comes out, and I haven't seen those yet, so that's a good excuse for me to go back.
All right, fair enough. I have a feeling that you don't really need an excuse. I think you love being up there in the sailboat, but that is a good reason to head back and see some of those narwhals. And what might surprise students is that tusk is actually a tooth, which I think students would find really surprising. Very different than what you might find on something like an elephant or a rhino. All right, okay, Svalbard. Do you offhand, this class would like to know kind of maybe an average amount of snow that they have, or maybe sea ice coverage?
Well, as for snow, I don't have any numbers for you, but it's ironically, parts of Svalbard is classified as a desert, so you don't have that much precipitation and snow. But what you do have a lot of, it's cold temperatures, well below freezing, which allows for the formation of sea ice in the winter. And it varies a bit from year to year, but at times all of the archipelago is covered by sea ice and inaccessible. But what we're seeing for the last couple of decades is that the pack ice is withdrawing, so we have less and less ice up there due to global warming, which is, of course, is a concern long-term for the Arctic ecosystem, because all the animals up there rely on the ice for hunting and for feeding. And additionally, the sea ice, what it does, it acts as a gigantic mirror reflecting sunlight back into space. So when you remove this mirror, you further accelerate the warming of the oceans, which will disturb the balance of the fragile ecosystem up there.
Yeah. Another class here is wondering, with the ROV, did you see the animals at the base of the Arctic food chain? Did you see plankton or things like that under the ice?
Yeah, we see a lot of small, intriguing plankton, and it's fascinating, but I don't know much about them. We focus on the whales, but of course these whales are here because of this plankton, so that's where this is the foundation of the food chain, with the phytoplankton that converts sun energy into food, and then you have zooplankton that eats the phytoplankton, and then you have the fish and the krill, and then the whales, seals, and polar bears.
All right. Yeah, so that sea ice, I mean, for so many reasons, the plankton under the sea ice forms the foundation of the Arctic food chain, the reflection of the sunlight, which can help with the cooling of our planet. So it really is a big issue that we're seeing it disappear the way that we are. And you've been there on numerous occasions. Have you seen a change in the amount of sea ice?
No, you don't. So the problem with global warming, it's kind of a bit slow, so you don't really see it from day to day. But looking into the old literature, we spend quite a lot of time reading books from ancient times, 100 years back, to better understand how to operate up there. So when you see in the literature, it's evident that there is less and less ice, and also based on satellite imagery from NASA and so on, like long-term assessments, you can see that the ice is definitely withdrawing, and we're able to sail further north now than what would have been possible 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, it makes me nervous when scientists talk about the seriousness of the issue, but sometimes others talk about how new routes could be opened to sail places quicker, or new resources could be exposed. But that's not a great thing for the health of our planet.
No, absolutely not. So it's always about finding the balance, and then also, like, as individuals, we just have to do the best we can, and starting with ourselves and reducing and changing our consumption.
All right. Well, we are almost at
not with hope. That's also important.
Exactly. There are so many good news stories out there, people working hard, looking for solutions, that we can't lose sight of that there's a lot of people who have dedicated their lives to these issues and challenges and such. Okay, we are almost out of time. I'll check in with our crew in Alabama, see if they have another question or two, and then we're gonna jump to another segment in today's World's Most Exciting Classroom.
I wanted to ask, whenever you go to countries like Svalbard, how do you study animals in the winter? Because I know that it's complete darkness.
That's also a very good question. So Svalbard is a part of Norway. Just a small clarification. And then in the winter, we're not able to sail up there with our small boat because of the ice. And that's why we go a bit further south, to northern Norway, where you have huge amounts of orcas and humpback whales. But in the future, with a new boat, we hope to be able to expand the windows of operations and to be able to go up there in the winter in safety.
Yeah, so most of the sailing you're doing is when you have the longer daylight hours.
Yes, in Svalbard, but in the winter, when we go to the humpback whales and orcas, we don't see the sun during the end of November, and in December, there's no direct sunlight.
All right, Ms. Foster's crew, do we have one more there?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Very cool. I'm going to tuck you guys backstage. Andreas, it is always so good to steal a little bit of your time. We're excited as you prepare for future expeditions, maybe a new sailing platform as well. I think one time I'm going to have to get out there so that we can do some live stuff from the ship. I think that would be a lot of fun to do some of that.
This coming winter, I look forward to seeing you on board, Joe. So
excellent.
Pack your warm clothes.
All right, I'm going to take you up on that. Free diving with the orcas. I can't think of anything better. So, yeah. All right. We'll have a great rest of the day, Andreas, and thank you so much for spending a little time with us.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, and keep up the great work that you're doing, and stay good in school.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, let's swing into action. Let's get this Kahoot quiz going. As always, there will be a prize for the top classroom. Little things to think about the Kahoot quiz. 5 questions today, some true and false, and some multiple choice. So I am going to get it started on my end, and I'm going to share my screen, and then we will get in on that action. Okay, here we go. Just going to move it to my second monitor so that I can still see what's going on here. And we are going to share this. So we got 19. And our pin number for today is 401435. So 401435. You could, if you have one-to-one technology, join at your seat. So use something like a tablet or a Chromebook. If you don't have that, that's no big deal. Your teacher can pull it up to the front of the classroom, and you can shout out your answers to him or her. If you are at home, I know we always have groups joining from home. Use your phone or use your tablet to scan the QR code, and it's going to bring you right in. So I see we've got some classrooms joining us. I see we've also got some individual students. We will give it a few moments to get everybody in place. As I mentioned, 5 questions, true and false, multiple choice. The quicker you put the answer in, and if that answer is correct, you're going to get more points. Doesn't matter how fast you put in a wrong answer. It is a big 0 on that question for you. You have a little bit longer for the multiple choice questions, about 30 seconds and 20 seconds for the true and false. We've got the epic wallaby, the bold wildcat, the space kitten, We're getting all kinds of interesting computer-generated animal names here, like the golden badger. After we conclude our Kahoot today, we have to take a look at our experiment from 2 weeks ago, the leaf compass experiment. Then we have a brand new experiment, which I'm going to do live here. I've got my second camera set up, some space cleared on my desk, and we will do that experiment live together. So hopefully everything goes smoothly doing it live. And then we have, if there's time, I think there will be today, we will check out a Darwin Leader video from Punta Arenas in Argentina. It's a very cool video looking at the pumas in Argentina, and that's the project that she was able to work on. And then we'll wrap up with our curiosity of the week. We have a new curiosity, and then I'm going to do a live curiosity here from my office. So that is the plan for the rest of the world's most exciting classroom. I still see some students joining, so I'm going to give it another couple seconds here, and then we're going to take things live. If you do have any questions about the vessel, the Oosterskalde, any questions about what we're up to in Punta Arenas, you can pop those into this chat sidebar at any time, and I can probably answer most of those questions for you. And then, as you know, we have just announced in our latest newsletter the world's most exciting classroom events all the way until the end of March. We've got the Plymouth National Aquarium joining us for some series of events, the National Marine Aquarium in Plymouth. We'll visit Sand Cobb in South Africa, the South African Penguin Rehabilitation Center, and we'll see some of the work that they're doing there. We'll also visit the Toucan Rescue Ranch in Costa Rica and meet some of the toucans that they're rehabilitating to release back into the wild. We'll have some Darwin leaders join us live to share their new videos that they've completed from places like Punta Arenas, the Falklands, Rio de Janeiro. And then, of course, we'll have our brand new experiments and curiosities of the week. So we have a lot coming between now and the end of March. Things have slowed down here, so let us get going. Let's get live. Let's play some Kahoot. Here we go, counting in here. Our first question is a multiple choice. Where did the Barba sail from? Did they sail from Sweden, from England, from Norway, or from Finland? So where did the Barba sail from? Sweden, England, Norway, or Finland? Lots of time to get that answer in. Sweden, England, Norway, or Finland? All right. Good job, crew. Most went with Norway. That's absolutely true. So from Stavanger in Norway all the way up to Arctic Svalbard, which sometimes people think it's a different country, but it actually is still part of Norway. It is quite a sail to get there, and then it is quite a different place up there in the Arctic Circle. Okay, let's go to our next question. Our leaderboard is telling us the Radiant Rhino is in first place, and we are off to a true and false question. The Arctic Sense expedition covered 1,000 miles. So is that true or false that the Arctic expedition from Norway to Arctic Svalbard and back covered 1,000 miles? True or false? Got about 5 seconds to get your true or false answer locked in there. Ooh, we got some with that one. So it is false. The total amount was about 2,000 miles covered on the Arctic Sense expedition. So 1,000 miles is big, but 2,000 miles was double that. So it probably took them roughly 1,000 miles to get there. They spent time around and moving through the sea ice. And of course, they had their return journey back to mainland Norway. That puts the amazing stork onto that top spot. We will go on to a multiple choice. What does ROV stand for? Is it robot operated vehicle? Is it remotely operated vehicle? Is it random operated vehicle? Or is it researcher operated vessel? So what does ROV stand for? This is a bit of a tricky one. All of these sound pretty good. Is it robot operated vehicle? Is it remotely operated vehicle? Is it random operated vehicle? Or is it a researcher operated vessel? What does ROV stand for? All right, we had a bit of a spread, but it is remotely operated vehicle is what ROV stands for. It is a robot, but it is controlled by the operator on the ship. So it's remotely operated by the person on the ship. There are things called AUVs, which are autonomous underwater vehicles, and those can be programmed and put into the water, and then they will go along a certain route. Sometimes they search in a grid pattern. Sometimes they follow a straight line, maybe through a canyon or something, and then they can be retrieved later. But ROV is piloted by a human. We have one on board the Oosterschelde, and we have used it in a few places to get some really cool footage. The one that they are using is professional grade, used for Netflix shows, BBC documentaries. This ROV costs over $100,000. I would be so nervous using something underwater that costs that much money. The amazing stork is holding on. Let's go to our next question. A true or false? Sea ice is critical for the functioning of the Arctic ecosystem. Is that true or is that false? That sea ice is so important. It is critical for the functioning of the Arctic ecosystem. What do you think? True or false? Sea ice is critical for the Arctic ecosystem. All right, absolutely true. It is a hunting platform and a resting platform. Obviously for the polar bears, using it to hunt. Seals use it as well to rest and give birth. And then the small things we don't think about all the time, the Arctic plankton, the zooplankton, they live under the sea ice. So without that sea ice, we could lose part of the bottom of the food chain. Amazing stork doesn't want to let go of that spot. Our final question. Blue whales were never hunted to the point they became endangered. Is that true or is that false? Blue whales, the largest things to ever live on our planet, they were never hunted to the point they became endangered. True or false? We got a great view of the blue whales next to the Barba, bigger than the Barba, which is a 37-foot sailing vessel. So when blue whales can reach over 90 feet at their maximum length, they make the Barba look pretty small. So it is false. They were hunted near the point of extinction. Thankfully, with whaling being banned in most places around the world, they have recovered, like many other populations, like the humpback whales, which, again, were also hunted near the point of extinction, but their populations have slowly recovered since hunting was banned. Okay, let's take a look at our podium. In third place, we had the dazzled crane. In second place, we had the radiant rhino. And in first place today, we have the amazing stork. Did not let go after question 2. So there we go. If you are in that classroom, if that is your classroom, you need to send an email to ebtsoyp@gmail.com. I usually have a banner here for it, but it looks like it got, oh, there it is. ebtsoyp@gmail.com is where you want to visit, and send me that email to let me know it was your classroom that has won that Amazon gift card. So ebtsoyp@gmail.com. Okay, let's get into some experiment action now. I'm just going to turn the music off here from our Kahoot. And 2 weeks ago, we had an experiment. We did the leaf compass experiment 2 weeks ago. And so we're going to take a look at the results of that experiment before we take a look at a brand new experiment for today. So let's take a look at the results of our leaf compass experiment.
Welcome back. How did your leaf compass experiment go? Were you able to magnetize your sewing needle? And did you work out which direction your leaf compass pointed? Well, let's look at my one. Mine is definitely pointing that way. Can you work out which direction your leaf compass points? Well, let's test mine. I've got an iPhone here, and I can see that this direction ahead of me is south, and if I hold it here, behind me over there is north. My leaf compass is definitely pointing perfectly south. And the really clever aspect. Because it's like a normal compass, it doesn't matter what direction the water moves in, the leaf compass will keep orientating to the direction that it's attracted to, in my case, south. The polarity of your leaf compass will depend upon how you magnetized it and whether you use the north pole of your magnet or the south pole of your magnet to magnetize your needle. My leaf compass is a perfect way for me to find south. I hope you've enjoyed making your very own leaf compass.
All right, very cool. So hopefully we'll see, that was Stuart McPherson, the expedition leader. Hopefully we will see him joining us again soon. He has been in the Falklands recently with the ship, of course, and then leading some other expeditions. So we haven't had him join us, but he will be rejoining the ship before it leaves Punta Arenas. So hopefully we can catch up with him and hear about what he was up to in the Falklands. Now we do have a new experiment for today. I'm just going to clear a little space here on my desk. There we go. And we are going to do this experiment live. So hopefully everything works out for us. I have a second camera here that I'm going to turn on. And that's what we're going to use to see what is happening. And I'll make it full screen. There we go. And so let's try today's experiment. Today's experiment is definitely one where you're going to need, adult supervision from a guardian. So maybe your teacher will do it with you in the classroom. Maybe you will do it at home with your parents or an older brother or sister, whoever can help you out at home. So for today's experiment, we need a clear dish. You could use something like a shallow plate. You could use something bigger. I kind of have something in between. I've got this pie dish here that's nice and clear, and I filled it with water. Not too much water. Really, how much you put in is going to depend on what we add next. So what we're going to add to this is just a candle. So in my case, I've got a little tea light. You might have a bigger candle, something that stands a little bit taller, that you can use in your dish. So I'm going to add that in there. You just want to make sure the water is not so high that it is going to put your candle out after we light our candle. So we're going to put some food coloring into the water so that we can see our water a little bit easier. I think maybe I'll use green today. And we will add that in. A few drops. Let's get it nice and dark. There we go. Swirl that around a little bit. All right. I think I might actually want that just a little bit darker so we can see. Got a nice white desk here, so that's going to help it stand out here for us. Okay. So now that that's mixed in a little bit, we get to the part where we may need a little bit of help if we're doing it in the classroom or we're doing it at home. And that is we're going to light this candle. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So there we go. We have our candle. It is lit. Back up a little bit for focus. There we go. So let that burn for maybe 30 seconds or so. It doesn't have to be too long. And then what we're going to do is take a glass jar and we are going to cover the candle with the glass jar. So the glass jar goes in. And then we're just I'm going to try and get down here a little bit and we're going to see what happens. So you should be able to see something happening. You see our candle went out. You see it started to float. And you can see that the water level has risen by at least an inch, maybe even an inch and a half inside of this jar. So there we go. It worked out nice for us live. Your task this week is to try this at home. Try this in the classroom. Again, a reminder that it does use something like a match or a barbecue lighter. So you do want to have someone help you out with that. And then try this out, take some pictures, and send us your results. You want to send those to classroom@darwin200.com. So classroom@darwin200.com. We will pick 3 entries, and they will win a gift card. And we'll announce that in 2 weeks' time. So we give classrooms 2 weeks to try the experiment, to send us some results, and then we'll pick those 3 classrooms. So there you go. That is our experiment. Bonus points this week if you can tell us why this happened. Why did the water level change inside the jar? If you can tell us why that happened, that will give you a leg up in our little experiment contest for this week. And then next week, we'll have a little video to highlight the experiment and why we had our particular set of results. So there we go, classroom@darwin200.com. Let's see here if I can switch back to my main camera. All right, and we'll go back full screen. Oh, it looks like my main camera is not happy that I did that switch, so I'm going to put on my side camera. I actually have 3 cameras I can choose from, which is kind of cool. So we'll put this side one on for now, and maybe we'll finish up the event using the side camera. So as I mentioned, we have time today that we can check out a Darwin Leaders video. So I love this video from Olivia. This is her first of 3 videos that she has to create for us. And she was looking at the puma. So the puma is known by many things around the world: mountain lions, cougars, of course, puma, like we just mentioned, Florida panther. So they do get different names for our puma, but in Argentina, they are called the puma. So let's take a look at her video and let's take a look at what she experienced where she was. So here we go. We should have a video coming up for us shortly, and then we'll wrap up with our curiosity of the week.
Patagonia, a land of mountains, vast plains, and vibrant coastlines. But this is also a place of devastating persecution of predator species, particularly one, the puma, an animal which is both respected and feared, and was almost wiped off the face of this land. My name is Olivia Navarrete Sur, and I am a Darwin 200 leader. I have ventured to Puerto Madryn, located in the Chubut province of Argentinian Patagonia, to investigate the ongoing human-wildlife conflict that is threatening the pumas in this region. Humans have influenced and transformed the landscapes that they inhabit from the very beginning of time. From the Stone Age until today, we have always depended on our surrounding environment to provide us with all of the resources that we need to survive and thrive. But this has come at a great cost for the other living creatures that surround us. This is especially true in the case of large carnivores, or apex predators, whose power leaves us both in awe and in fear. We often don't see the immense role that these creatures play in sustaining healthy ecosystems. Apex predators are those found at the very top of the food chain, and they control the number of herbivores that graze on the land. This means that vegetation can thrive and recover, giving the land a chance to regenerate. When we begin to lose our apex predators, herbivore populations are no longer controlled, leading to a huge population growth, which causes a great imbalance, as the land's resources are used up much faster than they can regenerate. And this can lead to land degradation, or in the worst cases, desertification, leaving the land barren and dry. This is exactly what has happened all over the Argentinian Patagonia due to the introduction of widespread sheep farming, which has devastated the land.
The real change was with the sheep cattle farming. It's a process that started just at the end of 19th century with the colonization, which has very bad consequences on land and on the vegetables, because the way in which the sheep eats plants, and this has consequence to the original animals like guanaco or even puma.
El puma es considerado uno de los principales depredadores de ganado en esta provincia, y eso genera un malestar, un problema para los productores ganaderos, ya que la producción ganadera es justamente una de las principales actividades económicas en nuestra provincia, y esto hizo que los productores demandaran a las autoridades en busca de unas soluciones. Por esto existe una ley en esta provincia que se llama Ley de Control de Especies Depredadoras de la Ganadería, que autoriza la caza del puma que se considera problema. No solo permite la caza, sino que retribuye con un pago por cada animal capturado. Los medios de comunicación ayudan muchas veces a sostener este conflicto, considerando, llamando a este animal como problema, como plaga, como conflictivo, como peligroso, como dañino, utilizando términos descalificativos y negativos hacia el animal, con las consecuencias que esto puede traer para su conservación en el futuro.
At the beginning of the 20th century, pumas were almost completely eradicated from areas of Argentina. The persecution of our world's apex predators is a global issue, from orcas and sharks in our oceans to lions in the African savanna and jaguars and pumas across South America. This is a long unresolved issue which we must address before it is too late. In the next episode of this series, we will be looking into how scientists around Argentina have worked together with local farmers to train guardian dogs that protect their sheep, to simultaneously secure the livelihoods of local people and to spare the lives of hundreds of pumas each year.
Okay, another beautiful video by one of our Darwin leaders, looking at apex predators, in particular the puma in Patagonian Argentina. So Olivia has 3 videos that she delivers over the course of her time there. The second one focuses on what's being done, what's the conservation work that's happening right now on the ground. And the third one focuses on the future. What can we do to better protect these predators so that there's less human wildlife conflict and so that ecosystems can recover and be healthy the way that they're supposed to be. So a great video there from Olivia. And over the next few weeks, we're going to have some Darwin leaders join us live and we'll hear about some of their experiences in the field. So to wrap up for today, we have to do our curiosity of the week. So last week we had a new curiosity. Let's see what was that curiosity?
Welcome back, everyone. Last week, I asked you to try and identify these 2 sheets. If you remember, they're golden, but I shined a light behind them and showed you that they're semi-transparent. Could you guess what they were? A couple of people did send in the right answers. They are mica, sheets of mica, a mineral that's widespread around the world in different rock formations and rock types, for example, granite. Big sheets of mica like this have very special properties. They are semi-transparent, and they're extremely heat resistant. So for the last 200 years, sheets of mica like this have been mined and windows have been cut out. You can break flakes off and make them thinner and thinner and put them in the windows of furnaces. This is one of the most heat resistant, naturally occurring, transparent minerals on Earth that can be used for this purpose at least. So it's a perfect window for furnaces and ovens and things like that get really, really hot inside, but you need to look inside as well. So if you guessed mica, well done. Can you guess the identity of this week's curiosity? Let's find out now.
There we go. That should make things a little bit easier for the curiosity of the week, if you guys can hear me. So that was our last week's curiosity, was mica. So congrats to those who sent in the correct answer to classroom@darwin200.com. This week's is something that I have in my office. So I think this might be a bit of an easy one for this week, but that's okay. Along with sending what you think it is, I want you also to get a little bit deeper into detail. So what precisely is it? Don't just tell me kind of what it is generally, but can you get a little more specific. And you'll understand what I mean when I show you what this week's curiosity is. So I have it here. This week's curiosity is in this block here. And if I get nice and close to the camera, you can see what it is. So can you tell us what it is in general? And then more specifically, what is it of? What are we seeing here in this block? So this is our curiosity for the week. As always with the curiosity, we have 1 week to get your answers submitted to Classroom at DARWIN200.com, Classroom at DARWIN200.com. And if we get some good answers, we will give a shout out to some students live in our next World's Most Exciting Classroom. So there we go. That's how we're going to leave things for this week. A great event hanging out with Andreas and learning about the Arctic Sense expedition. Olivia had an absolutely beautiful video from Patagonia, in Argentina. And then we had our experiments and our curiosities. If you are going to join us and share, you want to share to classroom at darwin200.com. 2 weeks to try the experiment and a bonus if you can tell us what happened, why the water level changed like that. And then you have 1 week to send us an answer for the curiosity of the week. So a huge shout out to our classrooms who joined us today behind the scenes, as well as joining us live via YouTube. A shout out to the classrooms tuning in later today via the recording. We always end our events the same way, by thanking our sponsors, by thanking our partners, without whom we couldn't be doing the world's most exciting classroom. We couldn't be taking the Oosterschelde all over the world, training young Darwin leaders, and then bringing all of the amazing content to our classrooms. So here we go. We will wrap up today with a shout out to our sponsors and partners.